Welcome to the Bar Exam Toolbox podcast. Today we are walking through a Contracts MEE question. Your Bar Exam Toolbox hosts are Alison Monahan and Lee Burgess. That's me. We're here to demystify the bar exam experience so you can study effectively, stay sane, and hopefully pass and move on with your life. We're the co-creators of the Law School Toolbox, the Bar Exam Toolbox, and the career-related website Career Dicta. Alison also runs the Girls Guide to Law School. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your favorite listening app and check out our sister podcast, the Law School Toolbox podcast. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can always reach us via the contact form on barexamtoolbox.com, and we'd love to hear from you. And with that, let's get started. Welcome back. Today, we are walking through a contracts question. This is another in our series of podcasts talking about how to approach questions on the UBE. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you won't miss any upcoming essay discussions. It will not take you long to realize that you are working with a contracts question when you see one. The examiners aren't coy about this. The word offered is often in the first sentence. As soon as you see this, your mind should immediately jump to whether you are in the UCC world or the common law world, or both. For this particular question, you will be working within both worlds. Now, before we walk through today's question, we have to do a quick review of the law you want to know for this question. So let's dive in. This contracts question deals with goods, so the transaction falls within the scope of Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC. When the UCC does not apply, common law rules will. Article 2 of the UCC governs transactions of goods. Under the common law, an offer may be revoked by the offeror at any time before acceptance, unless an option contract is created, limiting the power of revocation. A promise to hold an option open may be made binding by statute. UCC Section 2205 makes a merchant's signed promise to hold open an offer to buy or sell goods binding in some situations, even in the absence of consideration. UCC 21041 defines a merchant as, quote, a person who deals in goods of the kind or otherwise by his occupation holds himself out as having knowledge or skill peculiar to the practices of goods involved in the transaction, end quote. An offeree may accept an offer and thereby create a contract unless the offeree's power of acceptance has been terminated. The power of acceptance may be terminated by a rejection or counteroffer by the offeree, the lapse of time, revocation by the offeror, or death or incapacity of either party. Generally, revocation of an offer occurs when the offeree receives from the offeror a manifestation of intent not to enter into the proposed contract. Some cases have held that revocation may also be communicated to the offeree indirectly when the offeror takes definite action inconsistent with an intention to enter into the proposed contract and the offeree acquires reliable information to that effect. All right, that's it. That's all the law that you need to know. So let's move on to reading the bar exam question. This is a question from the July 2018 bar exam. We will link to a webpage where you can find this question in the show notes. Ready? Here we go. A homeowner who knew that his neighbor wanted to buy a lawnmower called the neighbor and offered to sell his lawnmower to her for $350. The neighbor replied, "No way, that price is too high." The homeowner responded, "The price is a good one. See if you can find another lawnmower as good as mine for as little as $350. I'm confident that you'll come to your senses. In fact, I am so confident that not only am I still willing to sell you the lawnmower for $350, but I promise to keep this offer open for a week so that you will have time to do some comparison shopping. If you don't get back to me within a week, I'll sell the lawnmower to someone who knows what a good value is." So 4 days later, the neighbor concluded that $350 was indeed a very good price for the homeowner's lawnmower. Accordingly, she decided that she would go see the homeowner the next morning and accept the offer to buy the lawnmower from him for $350. That evening, the neighbor got a telephone call from an acquaintance who lived on the same block as the homeowner and the neighbor. The acquaintance said, "Congratulate me! I just got a great deal on a used lawnmower." The homeowner agreed to sell me his lawnmower for $375. At that price, it's a steal. I'm picking it up tomorrow afternoon. The neighbor replied, "This must be a mistake. He offered to sell the lawnmower to me." And the acquaintance said, "There's no mistake. We wrote up a deal and everything. I'll come by your place right now to show you he signed the contract." A few minutes later, the acquaintance went to the neighbor's house and showed her a signed document pursuant to which the homeowner had agreed to sell his used lawnmower to the acquaintance for $375. The neighbor went to the homeowner's house the first thing the next morning, rang his doorbell, and as soon as the homeowner came to the door, said, "I accept your offer." The homeowner replied, "It's too late. I've agreed to sell the mower to someone else for $375. Next time, act quickly when you are presented with such a great bargain." The neighbor is furious about the homeowner's refusal to sell her the lawnmower for $350. In her view, the homeowner was bound to keep his offer open for a week, and in any event, her statement, "I accept your offer," created a contract that bound the homeowner to the deal. So, number 1, was the homeowner bound by his promise to keep his offer open for a week? Number 2, assuming that the homeowner was not bound by his promise to keep the offer open, did the neighbor's statement, "I accept your offer," create a contract with the homeowner for the sale of the lawnmower? Explain. Now you see that there are 2 questions here, but you will be addressing 3 larger issues. Because this is a contracts question, your threshold issue is determining what area of law you need to rely upon to answer each sub-question. We will address that below. So the first thing you should do is mark up your exam paper to assess what is legally significant about each fact in the fact pattern. So let's start at the beginning. A homeowner knew that his neighbor wanted to buy a lawnmower, so he called and made an offer to sell for $350. A lawnmower is a good, so we know that we are in the UCC Article 2 universe. We also know that this is a homeowner and not a merchant. The neighbor rejected the offer, saying it was too high. So there was no initial contract formed at this point because there was no acceptance. Then homeowner promises to keep the offer open for a week so the neighbor could comparison shop, but did not ask for any consideration. Now this comes into play as a potential option contract. However, because no consideration was given, no option contract was created. 4 days later, the neighbor decided that the $350 offer was very good and decided to visit the homeowner that night to accept the offer. Now the neighbor is still within the 1-week range that the homeowner promised. But before the neighbor could visit the homeowner, an acquaintance called him, excited that she purchased the lawnmower for $375 from the homeowner. Now this obviously affects the homeowner's promise to the neighbor. The acquaintance then brought a signed document in which the homeowner agrees to sell the lawnmower. This is reliable information that the homeowner and the acquaintance had entered into an agreement over the lawnmower. Then the neighbor shows up at the homeowner's house and says that she now accepts the offer. This happened after the neighbor had reliable information about the other sale. The neighbor is upset and believes that she created a contract by accepting the offer within a week. Okay, so now that we've run through all the facts, let's look at how to actually answer this question. You would start any outline or answer by breaking your paper into a section for each question. There are 2 questions, but you will end up addressing 3 major issues. As a refresher, here are the questions. Number 1, was the homeowner bound by his promise to keep his offer open for a week? Explain. Number 2, assuming that the homeowner was not bound by his promise to keep the offer open, did the neighbor's statement, "I accept your offer," create a contract with the homeowner for the sale of the lawnmower? Explain. The legal issues you are really looking for are: Number 1, what body of contract law governs this contract's dispute? 2, is a promise to keep an offer to sell goods open for a week binding when the offer is made by a non-merchant and is not supported by consideration? And number 3, does an expression of acceptance of an offer create a contract when the offeree is aware that the offeror has taken actions inconsistent with an intention to enter into the contract? So, let's dive into each issue separately. Number 1, what body of contract law governs this contract dispute? Here, we know that the UCC Article 2 governs transactions of goods, and a lawnmower is a good. So the transaction in question is a transaction in goods that is governed by Article 2 of the UCC. Common law rules are still applicable when the UCC does not take precedence. Next up, is a promise to keep an offer to sell goods open for a week binding when the offer is made by a non-merchant and is not supported by consideration? Our rule here is that under the common law of contracts, an offer may be revoked by the offeror at any time before acceptance unless an option contract is created limiting the power of revocation. So there was no consideration given, and there was no writing, so no option contract could be created. But a promise to hold an offer open may be binding by statute. Now, because the lawnmower constitutes a good, Article 2 of the Uniform Commercial Code is the relevant statute. So Article 2 of the UCC, though, only applies to an offer made in writing by a merchant. A merchant is someone who deals in goods of the kind or otherwise by his occupation holds himself out as having knowledge or skill peculiar to the practices or goods involved in the transaction. So here, the homeowner does not deal in lawnmowers, at least that's not what the facts say, and he does not hold himself out as having knowledge or skill in this area. Additionally, the homeowner did not make this offer in writing. It was just an oral offer. So because the homeowner is not a merchant and an option contract was not created, the homeowner was not bound by his promise to keep the offer open for a week. So that's the answer to number 1. Now let's move on to question number 2, which is our third legal issue. Does an expression of acceptance of an offer create a contract when the offeree is aware that the offeror has taken actions inconsistent with an intention to enter into the contract? So here our rule is that an offeree may accept an offer and thereby create a contract unless the offeree's power of acceptance has been terminated. The power of acceptance may be terminated by a rejection or counteroffer by the offeree, lapse of time, revocation by the offeror, or death or incapacity of either party. So here, the neighbor's power of acceptance was terminated when the acquaintance accepted the homeowner's offer to sell the lawnmower for $375. Now we know that a revocation of an offer occurs when the offeree receives from the offeror a manifestation of intention not to enter into the proposed contract, that this information may be communicated indirectly. So though the neighbor did not receive this information from the homeowner, she had reliable information from the acquaintance. The acquaintance told the neighbor about the offer and showed her the written agreement made with the homeowner. So if the neighbor had accepted the homeowner's offer before the homeowner entered into the agreement with the acquaintance, a contract would have been formed. However, the offer was revoked when the neighbor indirectly learned of the pending sale from the acquaintance. So that's it. Now remember, you will have only 30 minutes to outline and write your answer for each question on the UBE. Before you start reading all of the facts in the hypothetical, you can glance at the questions at the end, which will help you plan your outline and make appropriate notes on the fact pattern and your scratch paper. And as you outline, remember to stick to the IRAC formula. This will make your essay much easier to grade and will help you gather as many points as possible to speed through the test. The other thing that's interesting about this question is I feel like the fact pattern is a little bit long, but there's just a lot of dialogue. So make sure that when you're going through the fact pattern, even if it's long, don't get too scared. The dialogue just takes up a lot of room, but it really didn't present all too many extra facts. And with that, we're out of time. I want to take a second to remind you to check out our blog at barexamtoolbox.com, which is full of helpful tips to help you prepare and stay sane as you study for the bar exam. You can also find information on our website about our courses, tools, and one-on-one tutoring programs to support you as you study for the UBE or California bar exam. If you enjoyed this episode of the Bar Exam Toolbox podcast, please take a second to leave a review and rating on your favorite listening app. We'd really appreciate it. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. If you're still in law school, you might also like to check out our popular Law School Toolbox podcast as well. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Alison at lee@barexamtoolbox.com or Alison@barexamtoolbox.com, or you can always contact us via our website contact form at barexamtoolbox.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon.